everyone, welcome to Travel Services with Masego. In this video, we are going to do a foreign exchange activity for travel services in 6. If you find this video helpful, please give it a huge thumbs up, click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and share to help a fellow tourism student. Please note, this video is based on the TVET syllabus for students studying towards a national certificate in tourism. Notes, textbooks, slides, and previous question papers can be found on futuremanagers.com, which will be linked in the description box below. So in this video, as I have stated before, we are going to go through an activity for travel services in 6 foreign exchange. This is how most of the activities are structured and aims to kind of get you to work out and problem solve issues relating to selling and buying foreign exchange. So here you will be given, most of the questions are structured the same. So you will find that you will first have to identify your travel arrangements, and then check your deductible land arrangements, and then find out how much you have left of your discretionary annual allowance, and so on and so forth. This is what we are going to do at this point. So the first thing is that you need to read the scenario and understand the context that you are working under. In this case, it says Mr. Zwane will be traveling around the world early next year to market the next South African fashion show. You, the travel agent, have already booked and accepted payment for the following travel arrangements. Now, remember, travel arrangements is everything that Mr. Zwane, your client, will be paying for this particular trip. And then your land arrangements are then the ones that are written in foreign currency, which are prepaid in a foreign currency before your departure. So here we see Mr. Zwane paid for the air tickets, he paid for the visa, for his visa per person, he paid for insurance, and then he has land arrangements. Under land arrangements, he has accommodation at $2,500, and then he has day tours and sightseeing entrance fees per person in various currencies as well. We have GBP at 375, 499 euros, and then 2,495 USD. Right. So here, the first step that we are going to take is to now convert your land arrangements into South African rand, so that we can find out how much the total of the travel arrangements are going to be. So this scenario is basically the information that we see that we will use to do the calculation. So then you will use the scenario and the ROE table that you are provided with. Now in the ROE table, your countries, then you have your currency codes, then you have your bank buying rate, which is used when the bank is buying foreign currency from the customer, and then you have your bank selling rate, which is used when the bank is selling foreign currency to the customer. Under your bank buying rate and your bank selling rate, you have further categories. You have more categories, which is your TT, your telegraphic transfer, your check, and your foreign notes under bank buying. And then you have check and telegraphic transfer put into one category under the bank selling rate, and then foreign notes put into a separate category under bank selling rate. Now you will then have to look at our scenario. Mr. Zwane is trying to buy foreign currency, which means the bank is selling foreign currency to Mr. Zwane, and then it does not stipulate in our example the type of transaction it is. So based on the fact that these are going to be prepaid arrangements, we will then use your TT or your telegraphic transfer selling rate, because the travel agency or Mr. Zwane is not going to catch a flight to go pay those arrangements before departure, right? So we can see the British pound in the first column under the bank selling rate. The ROE there is 20,0328. Now, it is important when you do the calculation, write the ROE as it is, right? Use the ROE as it is. Fine. So you will check the ROE. In the previous slide, we can see we have your British pound, your euro, and USD, right? So in this section, we will then have to check the selling rate for the British pound, the selling rate for the euro, and the selling rate for the United States dollar. Then you then go into applying the conversion rules and the ROE. Then it is advised that you rewrite the travel arrangements as they appear in your scenario. So you write the cost for your ticket, visa application, insurance, and then your land arrangements. Then you will start doing the conversion from that point on. So if you look there under accommodation, you have USD 2,500 rand, 2,500 US dollars, using the ROE that we found in this table. If you look at this point here, you have 14.5275 for the US dollar in the selling rate, and that's how much you are going to multiply the US dollars by, so that you can see how many South African rands we get. So here you have $2,500 times 14.5275 is equals to 36,318 rand and 75 cents. Then we will then convert the amount for the day tours and sightseeing entrance fees per person. You have your British pound multiplied by the ROE, gives us 7,512 and a couple of cents. You also apply the same concept to your euros and your USDs again to get the amount of money that we spend for those entrance fees and sightseeing. And then you will then add up all of these amounts. So you add up the amount for your air ticket, you add up the amount for your visa, your insurance, your accommodation, the total that you get after converting into ZAR, your accommodation, the total that you get for your GBP, and all the other totals. You then add them up, and then they will tell you how much in total Mr. Zwane's travel arrangements are, which is 129,539 rand and 94 cents. Now, after finding out your travel arrangements, the next question that would usually follow would be, what is the rand value of Mr. Zwane's deductible land arrangements only? Now, out of the entirety of the travel arrangements, we just want to know how much the land arrangements on their own are. The land arrangements, remember, are the ones that we converted from foreign currencies into South African rand. So your accommodation and your sightseeing tours. At this point, you will then have to add up the totals for the land arrangements, add them up, and then we find out that the total for the land arrangements only, excluding the flights, the visas, applications, and the insurances, right? The total amount for your land arrangements is 88,665 and some few odd cents, right? Once this is done, the next question to follow will then be, what is the rand value of the available foreign exchange allowance, right? This question then brings us to the discretionary travel allowance of 1 million rand. Remember, we will then assume that Mr. Zwane has not traveled before, right? If Mr. Zwane had traveled before, the instruction would have said Mr. Zwane traveled before, he went to wherever country, and upon his return he was left with a travel allowance of maybe 100,000. Then calculate how much he has left now. But in this case, since they didn't tell us Mr. Zwane traveled before or Mr. Zwane's travel allowance is how much, we are going to assume that he didn't travel before, and therefore he still has the full 1 million rand discretionary allowance to work with. So we then to answer this question, what is the rand value of the available foreign exchange allowance, or how much of the foreign exchange allowance does he still have? You will then go in and say and deduct the land arrangements from the 1 million rand travel allowance. So 1 million rand minus 88,000 and a few odd rands is then equals to 911,334 rand and 6 cents. So that's the amount that we have left in his travel allowance as his annual discretionary travel allowance. From this point on, the questions that will come up will then be as follows. Mr. Zwane then wishes to use his remaining foreign exchange allowance as follows. So his remaining foreign exchange allowance is that 911,000 and a few odd rands. Now he wants to use it as follows. Firstly, he wants 35% of that amount converted into US dollars. So you are then going to check 35% of 911,000 is equals to 318,966 rands. Now that amount, using the conversion, remember the selling rate and the conversion rules, in this case we are going to divide. You then divide that amount to convert it into US dollars. Now, is the bank buying or is the bank selling the US dollars to this person? The bank is selling the US dollars to this person, so we are still going to use the bank selling rate. So in this case we are converting to US dollars, so we are going to divide. So the amount divided by 14.5274 gives us about 21,956 US dollars and a couple of cents. Now 40%, he wants 40% in GBP. Then we use the same formula. 40% of 911,000 is then going to be 364,533 rand, divided by the ROE is equals to 18,196 rand. He now also wants 5% of that amount in euros. 5% of 911,000 is 45,000 rand, and then divided by the ROE gives us 2,647 euros. He also wants Hong Kong dollars, 10% of this amount in Hong Kong dollars. Same formula applicable, so you just keep on doing this by changing and taking into consideration your ROE for the specific currency, and then your conversion, whether you are converting to a major currency or to any other currency. You will then divide or multiply. Then the last one here says he wants 10% in his credit card. Here, this is a trick question. All you have to do is calculate 10% of 911,000, and then that's the amount that will be loaded onto his credit card. Then once you have done this step, the last step is that he goes on his trip and he brings back the currencies from overseas. The bank will then repurchase them, recalculate. Then it says calculate the rands that he gets from each currency. So upon his arrival back into the country, he is left with 95 euros in cash. Remember, when in your ROE table you have those nodes, TT buying rate and so on, you will use then the bank buying rate, because the bank is buying the foreign currency from the client. So then the bank buying rate, so 95 euros times the bank buying rate, he will get back 1,581. He has 300 British pounds times the bank buying rate gives him 5,850, and then the Hong Kong dollars divided by the bank buying rate, he gets 87 rand 50 cents back. So now this is now the last step that you are going to be doing in your foreign exchange conversion. Is basically recalculating. This brings us to the end of this session. Please share your thoughts and questions below. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell. Till the next session. Bye guys.